Have you ever wondered something strange? Every country in the world seems to be in debt. America owes over $36 trillion. That's a huge number. China owes more than $18 trillion. Even Europe, Japan and India owe huge amounts of money. Every country is borrowing, every country is lending, and somehow the world is now $300 trillion in debt. So here's the question. If everyone owes money, then who are they actually paying it to? Who's collecting all this money? And how can the entire planet be in debt at the same time? It's a really simple question, but one with a surprisingly complicated answer. Let's start with the world's biggest borrower, the United States. Out of the $36 trillion that America owes, about $26 trillion is actually owed to Americans themselves. Yes, you heard that right. The US government borrows from its own citizens, banks and pension funds through something called treasury bonds. Foreign countries hold only around $7 trillion of US debt. China owns about $750 billion. Japan holds roughly $1.1 trillion, and the rest is spread across nations like the UK, Switzerland and Saudi Arabia. So in reality, most of America's debt is not to China, it is to its own people. Now let's flip the map. China might be lending to the US, but it's also drowning in debt itself. Chinese government, companies, and local provinces owe a combined $18 trillion, and that number is still rising. So who is China borrowing from? Mostly from its own banks, which are often state-owned. And those same Chinese banks also hold American debt. Yes, it's like a circle. Both countries owe each other money, directly and indirectly. It's not just the US and China. Every major economy borrows and lends at the same time. Japan lends money to the US, and when we say Japan lends money to the US, it means Japan buys US government bonds, which means basically lending money to America in exchange for interest. The US uses that borrowed money to fund its spending. Similarly, Europe borrows from Japan, which means European governments or companies take loans or issue bonds that Japanese investors buy, so Japan earns interest from Europe too. Similarly, developing countries also borrow from Western banks, and those same banks get investment from Asian and Middle Eastern funds because countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE and Asian countries like Japan, Singapore or China invest their savings into global financial institutions. So it's like a giant circle. And the truth is that the world's debt isn't really owed to one person or country. It's owed within the system, a web of governments, banks, companies and investors constantly trading promises to pay. But then you might ask that why not just stop borrowing? Well, the entire global economy depends on it. Debt allows money to move, it fuels growth, creates jobs, and lets countries spend more than they earn. But there is also another angle to this. What if this entire system isn't just about money at all? What if it's about control? Because think about it. The moment a country takes on debt, it becomes dependent. It starts making decisions not just for its people, but for the lenders, the markets, and the institutions quietly pulling the strings behind the scenes. The ones who actually profit when everyone else owes something. They're not presidents or politicians. They're the invisible network of global banks, hedge funds, and financial giants who move trillions of dollars with a click. So maybe the world runs on debt. Carefully managed, never-ending debt that keeps nations tied to the same system. A system where no one ever truly pays back, and no one ever truly owns anything. Because the moment the debts are cleared, the illusion of power disappears.